Welcome back. Despite the best efforts of all of his opponents, Donald Trump continues to win. He continues to win both at home and abroad. You can look at the sealed border. You can look at the economy that's doing terrific, 2.4% inflation, 4.2% unemployment. Jobs numbers are up. You look at what's happening in international policy, foreign affairs. Well, then, looks like he's created a situation for peace in the Middle East, something that I never thought that I would see in my lifetime. So the wins continue to happen. So what does the left have remaining in its toolbox? Lawyers, courtrooms, activist judges. That's what they have, and they're using them. Lawfare against the administration and therefore against the American people. Join me now, Alex Swoyer, attorney at the Washington Times legal affairs reporter, author of a brand new book, Lawless, Lawfare, tipping the scales of justice to get Trump and to destroy MAGA. Alex, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Really appreciate you being here. Look, it's these activist judges, 600 plus federal district judges in America. And the way that I see them, and I'm not a lawyer, that's why I bring you here for your expertise. The way I see federal district judges as being basically local judges for that district, not ones that can issue injunctions, binding injunctions for the entire nation. This whole thing is off the rails. And that's what a lot of people think. What would you say to that?
Well, I say two things. One, as a legal affairs reporter and a lawyer, I have found it disheartening over the years to be able to see these highly charged political lawsuits go before a judge and essentially me be able to look who appointed the judge and have an idea of the outcome before any hearing is even set or any filings even happen, right? That's justice is supposed to be blind. And so I've seen this become increasingly a problem, and then it's just mushroomed under the Trump era. In respect to what you were getting to, the Supreme Court is actually looking at what could possibly be done to rein in some of these lower court judges. There's the birthright citizenship case that we expect a ruling on as soon as possibly Thursday this week, where the justices are not only asked really to look at this birthright citizenship issue, but the merits argument is actually nationwide injunctions and how to handle it. And so when I was in the courtroom during oral arguments on that, it looked like some of the justices were open to the idea of making these challengers meet some sort of class action status before allowing some sort of nationwide injunction to go forward. And what that really means, not to get too wonky, but it puts a lot more hurdles before these challengers, and so it would take more time for them to launch these lawsuits. They would have to do much more legwork, that sort of thing.
In my reading of of these cases, this didn't even happen until the 1960s, and it didn't really ramp up until George W. Bush and the Democrats and the left realized, hey, we can use the legal system to gum up the works and stop the agenda. So then they have perfected it over time to jam everything. What is there, something like 400 lawsuits against the Trump administration currently?
Yeah, it's at this point where you can just pretty much, even as a legal affairs reporter, lose count. Earlier this year, I think it was like in the first couple months of the Trump administration, I did a story looking at the amount of nationwide injunctions he's faced compared to predecessors. And I think it was like within the first 2 months, he had more than President Biden had in all of his administration.
Correct.
And so it's become a sincere problem. That you nailed it in your introduction when you said that this is what the left has looked at as a way to stop the agenda.
What else do they have? The economy's working. The border's closed. Trump seems to have stopped the war between Israel and Iran. He's working hard to stop the war in Ukraine. His foreign policy is working. His domestic policy is working. And despite bogus polls, he's in the mid-50s for popularity and approval of what he's doing. Mid-50s, which is higher than Obama or George W. Bush at similar times in their state administration, and higher than Joe Biden as well. I want to go to this birthright citizenship for a moment here, Alex, because to me, you read the amendment to the United States Constitution, it's clear. This applies to newly freed slaves. It was not supposed to be some extension of allowing people to come to this country, to have children, people that come to this country illegally, by the way. You break the law to come into the country, but somehow, by extension, in twisting this amendment, your kids that came with you, you came illegally, but your kids are suddenly American citizens. That's not how this was supposed to work at all, is it?
No, and we've seen that mechanism be used as basically tourism, birth tourism. People coming here from countries like Russia, staying for a while, having their child, returning, but that way their child has dual citizenship, can go back and forth. There is arguments that this is being abused and needs to be reined in. This isn't just, a new idea. However, I was really surprised that at the Supreme Court arguments, this was not the focus of that case. The issue really was nationwide injunctions. And so what I expect to happen is the justices might give some sort of guidance on when these types of policies can be completely blocked or not by lower court judges. And then this issue, the birthright citizenship issue itself, will still have to work its way back up to the court and could return to the justices just on those merits alone.
Yeah, here's the other thing. Tish James, Fani Willis, Alvin Bragg. These are not people that have the blindfold on when it comes to justice at all. These are partisans.
In fact,
These are absolute Democrat partisans, aren't they?
in my book, I lay out just how partisan the cases that they brought against President Trump during the 2024 election it was. One thing also, I have a whole chapter on the media and the coverage of the lawfare. It was an April 2024 report from Media Research Center. I found that ABC and CBS ran about 99 stories on the Georgia lawsuit against the president brought by Fani Willis. Now, none of those stories mentioned that Fani Willis was a Democrat. Why is that important? At that time, she was literally running for re-election as a Democrat. So you would think journalists would say, Fani Willis, the district attorney running for re-election as a Democrat, is prosecuting the leading presidential Republican candidate. And they did not. I would consider that journalistic malpractice. And I saw that same type of narrative happened with the others you mentioned. Alvin Bragg, Letitia James. The fact that they were Democrats was taken, wasn't mentioned. There's so many campaign comments that they had made against Trump even before they were elected about their plans to go after him. I don't know how anyone with the last name Trump would feel like they would get a fair shake in that justice system if that's exactly what they were running on during their campaign.
Here's my concern, Alex. We've only got about 1 minute left here. My concern is very simple. I don't trust the Supreme Court. One day you get a ruling that seems pretty sensible. The next day you get Amy Coney Barrett, flying off into left field. I don't trust her as far as I can throw her. It's a bad choice. But what do you think? Can we get a fair shake at this Supreme Court on birthright citizenship? We got about 30 seconds. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I do. When I am in the courtroom, I tally where I think the justices are going to fall. And so my tally did have a majority looked open to doing something with Rule 23, which is that class action aspect I talked about. So it looks like the majority set up some sort of parameters for these lower court judges to follow, which would be great for the nation, not just this president, but going forward.
Yeah, it'd be a good start. Alex Swoyer, she's an attorney. She's a Washington Times legal affairs reporter, and she is the author of a brand new book, Lawless, Lawfare, Tipping the Scales of Justice to Get Trump and Destroy MAGA. Alex, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You come back anytime. That was fun. All right, we'll take a break right here. You're watching The Steve Gruber Show. Follow us on X, Facebook, live on YouTube, too. Things to consider after this.